What if I told you that somewhere in your kitchen, hidden among jars and containers you pass by every single day, lies an ancient fragment of power? Not a glittering crystal, not a mystical relic carved in stone, but something far more humble. Something so small, so unassuming, that most people never stop to notice it. And yet, within its tiny frame, it carries the weight of centuries, the whispers of healers, and a secret fire capable of awakening far more than just your senses. Has this ever happened to you? Finding out that something you thought you knew was hiding a much deeper story. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. I'm talking about the clove, a simple dried flower bud, hard to the touch, with a shape so delicate it almost looks like it belongs in a miniature bouquet. To most, it's just a spice, tossed into a recipe for its rich aroma, or sprinkled into a drink for a touch of flavor. But what you're about to discover might surprise you, because the clove is far more than a kitchen ingredient. It is, in truth, a keeper of ancient secrets, a humble guardian of a power that reaches beyond taste and smell. Imagine for a moment that every plant, every root, every leaf in nature carries not just physical properties, but also an energetic signature, a kind of code that speaks directly to your body and spirit. In the case of the clove, that code has been revered for centuries by healers, shamans, and herbalists across the world, from the Spice Islands where it first bloomed, to sacred temples where it was offered in rituals, to the hands of traditional medicine practitioners who understood its ability to ignite what they called the inner fire. This small bud has always been more than it appears. Think about it. Could it be possible that the same spice sitting quietly in your cupboard holds the ability to awaken clarity in your mind, protect your energy, and even connect you to a lineage of ancient wisdom? Stay with me until the end, because once you see the clove through this lens, you may never look at it the same way again. Its aroma alone tells a story, intense, penetrating, almost commanding your attention. In ancient times, that scent was believed to clear not only the air but also the mind, sharpening focus and opening a doorway to deeper awareness. The shape of the clove itself, pointed like a tiny, ceremonial dagger, was seen as symbolic, a tool to cut through stagnation and clear the path for energy to flow. Those who worked with it knew that this wasn't just about flavor, it was about transformation. And here's the fascinating part. When used with intention, even something as simple as chewing 2 cloves a day can set in motion changes that ripple through both your body and your energy field. Modern science acknowledges its antiseptic and antioxidant powers, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. What the ancients understood is that the clove can act like a key, unlocking vitality, sharpening intuition, and aligning you with a higher frequency of energy. Has this ever happened to you, feeling like a certain scent or taste triggered a memory, a mood, or even a shift in your awareness? That's because the body and mind are deeply interconnected, and certain natural substances have the ability to speak to both at once. The clove is one of those rare gifts. In the moments ahead, we're going to peel back the layers of history, symbolism, and energetic influence surrounding this extraordinary spice. We'll explore not only what it can do for your physical health, but also how it can become a bridge to a more conscious, vibrant way of living. And as we step into this journey, remember, what lies ahead is not just about learning facts, but about awakening an ancient dialogue between you and the forces of nature. Because once you understand the true story of the clove, well, that's when the real transformation begins. If you enjoy exploring ideas that go beyond the surface, subscribe so we can keep uncovering them together. For the ancient herbalists, alchemists, and sacred healers, the clove was never just a spice. It was a key, not the kind that opens a wooden door, but one that fits into the unseen locks of the human body and spirit. They saw it as a bridge between the visible and invisible, a carrier of plant wisdom gathered over centuries, condensed into a form so small it could rest in the palm of your hand. To them, every clove carried the memory of fire, earth, wind, and water, encoded in its very structure. When you worked with it, you weren't simply adding flavor. You were tapping into a current of transformation that ran deep beneath the surface of daily life. Its aroma alone told you this was no ordinary plant. Strong, sharp, almost electric, it seemed to bypass the usual senses, going straight to a deeper place within. That intensity was more than pleasant fragrance. It was a vibration, one that stirred the physical body while also touching the subtle layers you can't see but can certainly feel. For those who understood, this wasn't about culinary impact. It was about shifting energy, breaking patterns, dissolving what no longer served. And that's why the clove became a trusted companion in rituals of renewal and protection. Even its shape spoke a silent language. That small, pointed bud, like a miniature ceremonial dagger, carried meaning. It wasn't accidental. In the eyes of the wise, it symbolized the act of cutting through stagnation, slicing away the weight of what holds us back, and clearing space for something new to emerge. It was as if nature herself had designed this plant to remind us that purification is not always gentle. Sometimes it must be precise, deliberate, and unflinching. When someone held a clove between their fingers, they weren't just preparing a meal. They were holding a tool for inner work. The healers knew that a single act, when performed with intention, could ripple outward into the whole being. They understood that our energy, much like our mindset, can become clouded with what we accumulate, emotions we haven't processed, decisions we avoid, truths we keep hidden. The clove, in its quiet strength, offered a way to pierce through those layers. This is why it was carried across oceans, guarded in spice chests, and traded as if it were gold, behind the scenes of history, long before it was. Sprinkled into desserts or mulled into drinks, it moved through temples, healing spaces, and secret gatherings where its true role was never in question. It was there to awaken, to realign, to bring the body and spirit back into a state of flow. Modern life may have dulled our awareness of such things, but the clove hasn't forgotten. Its properties remain intact, waiting for us to approach it not with casual familiarity, but with the same reverence the ancients once held. When you encounter it this way, you start to feel its presence differently, not as a background flavor, but as an active force capable of sparking change. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding why the clove was revered isn't just about history. It's about recognizing how such a small element can have a profound impact on our internal landscape. It's about uncovering the hidden truth that sometimes the key to transformation is not in adding more, but in removing what stands in the way. And if you've ever felt the need to clear space in your life, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, write the word release in the comments. It's a small gesture, but it might just be the first cut through what's been holding you back. Science has done well to highlight the clove's antiseptic, antioxidant, and analgesic properties, presenting it as a natural ally for oral health, digestion, and immune support. Those qualities alone would make it valuable enough to keep close, but they're only the outer layer, the visible surface of something much more profound. The deeper truth is that the clove holds a vibration that science can measure in part, yet never fully define, a quality that works not only through chemistry, but also through energy, intention, and presence. When approached in the way the ancients understood, the clove becomes more than a plant. It becomes an instrument. Chewing it without awareness is one thing. Chewing it with the deliberate choice to be fully present is another entirely. In that moment, you are not simply releasing its oils and nutrients into your body. You are activating an energetic portal. It's like turning a key in a lock you didn't even realize existed, a lock that opens inward rather than outward. Through it, a refined current of energy begins to flow, a current that doesn't just wake the body but stirs something in the core of who you are. This is where the conversation moves from simple nutrition into the realm of transformation. We are talking about a practice that subtly rewires your internal state, the way you hold yourself, the way you process the world around you. The clove becomes a companion in your journey toward vitality, acting as both a stimulant for the physical body and a quiet catalyst for your spiritual awareness. And in a world where distraction is constant and our attention is fractured, any tool that can help bring alignment back into our system is worth paying attention to. Join the community by subscribing. You'll never miss the next step of this journey. There's a hidden truth here that most overlook. The bridge between physical well-being and spiritual clarity is not as wide as we've been led to believe. In fact, they influence each other constantly. A healthier, more energized body creates the foundation for sharper perception and a calmer mind. And the clove, with its penetrating warmth and aromatic fire, works right in that intersection. This is why in ancient alchemy it was considered a plant of dual influence, capable of touching both the tangible and the intangible, the flesh and the field of energy that surrounds it. When you think of it this way, each clove becomes an opportunity to make a decision, not just for your health, but for your state of being. Will you approach it as just a spice or as a subtle practice in self-alignment? That choice, made over and over again, shapes more than your body. It shapes your mindset, and your mindset, in turn, directs the course of your transformation. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes work that doesn't announce itself with fanfare, but whose impact accumulates quietly, like a deep river-carving stone over time. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we explore the clove as part of an ancient alchemical practice, we're stepping into territory where every sensory detail matters. The taste, the texture, the heat it leaves behind, each of these elements plays a role in how it interacts with your system, creating effects that ripple through both your body and your energy. And when you begin to see it through this lens, the simple act of chewing 2 cloves a day stops feeling ordinary. It becomes an intimate ritual, a private moment in which you meet yourself fully, without the noise of the outside world. If this idea resonates with you, if you can feel that pull toward rediscovering the extraordinary in the ordinary, write the word ignite in the comments. After all, that's exactly what this tiny bud has been doing for centuries, quietly igniting what was meant to burn brightly within you. Across centuries and continents, the clove has been woven into the fabric of sacred traditions, its presence felt in moments where the human spirit sought to connect with something beyond the tangible. In temples, sacred fires, and quiet ceremonial circles, it was never just a spice. It was a participant in the ritual, a living bridge between intention and transformation. In these spaces, the clove played its part silently yet powerfully, amplifying prayers, cleansing the atmosphere, and aligning those present with a more refined state of consciousness. It wasn't about superstition. It was about working with the subtle forces that shape our inner world. To the ancients, plants were never lifeless resources. They were allies, beings with their own spirit, will, and purpose. Each leaf, root, and flower was believed to carry not just physical nourishment, but a distinct personality and vibration. The clove was regarded as one of the wise ones among these allies, a guardian that could stand between a person and the disruptive energies of the world. It was approached with respect, as one would greet an elder whose guidance could illuminate the path ahead. This mindset shaped every interaction, turning even the act of holding a clove into a moment of communion. Its story begins in the remote Moluccas, the Spice Islands, a place where the landscape itself feels infused with mystery. Volcanic mountains rise against skies streaked with tropical storms, and the air carries a perfume so rich it almost hums. Here, cloves were more than a commodity. They were offerings to the unseen forces that governed life. Villagers would bring them to altars as gifts to the spirits of air and fire, believing their scent could carry messages across realms. The harvest was as much a spiritual duty as it was a livelihood, and the people treated each bud as a fragment of the island's soul. In these origins lies a hidden truth about why the clove resonates so deeply when used with awareness. It comes from a lineage where every interaction with nature was intentional. Nothing was taken without acknowledgement, and nothing was used without purpose. This mindset is a stark contrast to the way we often experience the world today, where convenience can overshadow connection. But when you bring even a fraction of that ancient reverence into your own practice, the impact can be profound. The clove stops being an object and starts being a presence, one that reminds you to slow down, to listen, and to feel the subtle exchanges happening between you and the living world. These old traditions teach us that transformation isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's found in the smallest of acts, a decision made in quiet awareness, a choice to honor rather than consume. The clove embodies this principle. Its physical form is tiny, but the journey it invites you into is vast, reaching into layers of self that rarely see the light of day. When you hold it in your hand, you are also holding a fragment of history, a symbol of the unbroken chain between human beings and the plant kingdom. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because within these sacred origins lies a map for how we can realign ourselves today. Understanding where the clove comes from and how it was treated allows us to step into a mindset where every interaction with it carries weight and meaning. And when you start to live with that kind of intentionality, even something as small as a spice can become a catalyst for renewal, a quiet but steady force guiding you back to your center. If this vision of reconnection stirs something in you, write the word alliance in the comments. It's a reminder that we were never meant to walk this journey alone. In the Ayurvedic tradition, the clove was far more than a flavorful addition to remedies. It was a spark meant to awaken Agni, the fire, that transforms not only food into energy but also experience into wisdom. Practitioners of this ancient science understood that digestion was not limited to the body's work on what you eat. It was also the alchemy of processing thoughts, emotions, and decisions, and then integrating them into your being. When Agni burned brightly, life moved forward with clarity. When it dimmed, stagnation and confusion took hold. The clove, with its penetrating heat and aromatic oil, was called upon to rekindle that fire, restoring vitality to both body and spirit. On the other side of the world, Taoist masters saw the clove through another lens. For them, it was a key to unblocking the flow of qi, the life force that moves through the body like an invisible river. A single obstruction could cause imbalance, affecting not only physical health but also emotional stability and spiritual focus. The clove's warming energy was believed to clear those blockages, letting life's current move freely. Once more, its effect was not forceful but precise, like a subtle shift in alignment that suddenly allows the whole system to function as it should. Among Arabic alchemists, the clove was known as al-Quramful, a name that carried with it centuries of study and reverence. They believed it could awaken the sacred breath, nafas, that connected the human soul to the divine. This was not mere metaphor. The sacred breath was considered the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the inhale and exhale of the universe itself. Working with the clove was a way of tuning one's own breath to that cosmic rhythm, aligning personal will with a greater order. If this resonated with you, subscribing is the easiest way to be here for what's coming next. And while these traditions thrived in distant lands, medieval Europe found its own ways of weaving the clove into spiritual practice. Witches and herbalists, often the keepers of folk medicine and hidden wisdom, saw it as a protector, not a shield forged of iron, but a living ward against heavy, stagnant energies. It was burned in incense to cleanse a room, placed at thresholds to guard a home, or chewed in silence before visions and divination. In those moments, the clove became more than plant. It became a silent ally, standing watch over the aura and expanding the intuitive field of the one who carried it. What's remarkable is how these seemingly separate cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, all recognize the clove as a tool for transformation. Whether it was the fire of Agni, the flow of Ki, the awakening of Nafas, or the warding of the spirit, the underlying theme was the same. This small bud carried a force that moved through both the physical and the unseen. It shaped mindset as much as health, influencing not only how people felt, but how they perceived and interacted with the world. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding how the clove moved seamlessly between medicinal, spiritual, and protective roles reveals something profound about its nature, and about the nature of all things that bridge the gap between matter and energy. There's a hidden truth here about why certain elements resonate across time and culture, as if they carry a universal signature that humanity instinctively recognizes. To explore that truth is to step into the very heart of its power, and to see how something so small can hold such an enduring impact. If this layered history makes you feel the pull of its mystery, write the word essence in the comments. It's a fitting reminder that sometimes the smallest forms carry the deepest truths. The clove has always carried the quiet dignity of something that exists between worlds. In the eyes of those who understood its deeper meaning, it wasn't just a fragrant bud, it was a bridge, a living thread that connected the dense, tangible plane of the body with the vast, unseen expanse of the spirit. Holding it, or tasting its concentrated fire, was like placing one foot on each side of that divide, feeling both the weight of the earth and the pull of the infinite. This symbolism was not merely poetic, it reflected the lived experience of those who worked with it. They knew that certain elements in nature could stand in two realities at once, carrying messages, energy, and influence from one to the other. In African spiritual traditions, the clove stepped into the role of a key that could open paths unseen by the physical eye. It was offered in Ditsi Diwanwan rituals to remove obstacles on the journey of the soul, to cleanse thoughts clouded by confusion or fear, and to affirm sacred agreements between individuals or with the divine. These pacts were not taken lightly. The clove's presence acted as both witness and participant, its essence binding the intention to the act. There was an understanding that certain decisions in life, those that shape destiny, require more than words. They require an anchor in something beyond ourselves. The clove, with its enduring heat and protective nature, was often chosen as that anchor. Meanwhile, in the rich tapestry of Chinese medicine, the clove's role was no less significant. It was considered a carrier of warm, invigorating energy, capable of awakening the inner yang, the dynamic, active principle that fuels movement, vitality, and purposeful action. When yang was diminished, the body could feel heavy, the mind sluggish, and the spirit dim. The clove's warmth acted like a sunrise within, dissolving the mental fog and rekindling the drive to engage with life. This was not only about physical stimulation, it was about restoring the clarity that allows a person to make decisions with confidence and act with intention. What's remarkable is how these perspectives, though separated by continents and cultural frameworks, all converge on the same core truth. The clove is not passive. It moves, it shifts, it transforms. Whether serving as a bridge, a path opener, a pact binder, or a flame rekindler, it invites the one who uses it into a state of greater alignment between body, mind, and spirit. And alignment, once felt, changes everything. It alters how you perceive challenges, how you respond to opportunities, and how you carry your own energy in the world. This is where the clove stops being a simple botanical curiosity and starts becoming a companion on a much deeper journey. In working with it, you begin to understand that transformation doesn't always require upheaval. Sometimes it's as subtle as introducing a warm current into still water, or as gentle as brushing away a layer of dust to reveal what was always there. These are the moments where a small act can have an outsized impact, shifting the trajectory of your inner landscape without fanfare, but with undeniable force. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way these traditions intertwine around the clove reveals more than just cultural appreciation. It hints at a shared human intuition, a recognition that certain elements of the natural world are meant to guide us through both the visible and the invisible. And when you begin to see the patterns in how humanity has turned to these guides again and again, you start to recognize that their relevance is not bound to the past. It is alive, here, now, waiting to be called upon. If this vision of the clove as a living bridge between realms resonates with you, write the word pathway in the comments. It's a reminder that some doors can only be opened from the inside. With time, the clove's presence drifted quietly from sacred spaces into the everyday bustle of kitchens. The rituals that once framed its use became memories, and the deep symbolic weight it carried was overshadowed by its role as a pleasant seasoning. In recipes, it found a new home, but one stripped of the reverence that once surrounded it. What had been a bridge between worlds was now seen as little more than a fragrant accent in festive dishes. This transformation wasn't malicious. It was the natural consequence of a society moving further from the mindset that every plant, every taste, held a purpose beyond the senses. Yet in that shift, something essential was forgotten. Subscribe, and let's keep walking this path of discovery side by side. In recent years, however, a subtle revival has begun. There are those who no longer see the clove as simply a spice for flavor, but as a living key to something much older. They chew it not for culinary pleasure, but to align with what they call the ancient codes of the earth, patterns of energy and wisdom that still pulse beneath the noise of modern life. For these people, the clove is not nostalgia. It is a tool, a small but potent companion in their personal journey of reconnection. In their hands, the act of placing a clove on the tongue becomes a deliberate decision, a quiet rebellion against the rush and forgetfulness that define much of our daily existence. To understand why this matters, you have to see the body as more than flesh and bone. It is an energy temple, a structure composed of multiple layers: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, each vibrating at its own frequency, yet interwoven in a delicate balance. The health of one layer influences the others. A wound in the mind can weaken the body. A disruption in the spirit can cloud the emotions. This is why, in the older ways of thinking, true healing and alignment always address the whole being, not just one part. When the clove interacts with this temple, it does so on more than one level. Its aromatic oils travel through the senses, signaling the nervous system and awakening mental clarity. Its warmth ignites subtle currents in the body, the kind you might notice only as a shift in presence, a sharper awareness, a deeper grounding. And beyond all of this, something quieter happens. The clove seems to stir the spaces between the layers, those intangible zones where thought, feeling, and vitality meet. It is in those spaces that long-held tensions dissolve, making room for the kind of transformation that doesn't shout, but is felt unmistakably. Approaching the clove this way shifts the entire experience. You are no longer just tasting it, you are engaging in an exchange, a dialogue between your inner world and a living fragment of the earth. In this exchange, your body stops being a passive recipient and becomes an active participant in the process. You begin to sense that every decision you make about what enters this temple, whether food, thought, or emotion, is shaping your frequency, your mindset, your trajectory. And in that awareness, the clove stops being small. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because seeing the body as an energy temple changes the way we understand not only the clove, but the entire concept of nourishment. It invites us to question what we are truly feeding, our hunger, our habits, or our highest potential. And in that questioning, the possibility for profound change begins to open. If this way of seeing your body resonates with you, write the word temple in the comments. It's a simple reminder of the sacredness you carry within every moment. When the clove enters your life with intention, it begins by touching 3 vital centers, each one a doorway to deeper alignment. It's not just about the body's reaction to a spice, it's about the orchestration of energy that unfolds once it makes contact. The first of these is the fire of the mouth, where taste is more than flavor and sensation is more than texture. Here, the clove becomes a spark. Its sharp, penetrating heat wakes the tongue in a way that feels almost electric, and with that awakening comes a subtle chain reaction. In the language of energy medicine, the stimulation of nerve endings on the tongue connects directly to the meridians of the heart, the stomach, and the spleen, 3 centers tied to how we feel, how we process, and how we sustain ourselves. This is where mental clarity begins to bloom, not as a sudden rush but as a steady sharpening, like a lens coming into perfect focus. From the mouth, the clove's warmth travels downward, descending into the realm of the solar plexus, the seat of what ancient traditions called the digestive fire. This is more than the breakdown of food. It is the alchemy of turning everything we take in, whether edible or emotional, into something that can nourish or be released. In this space, the clove acts as a guardian and a catalyst, ensuring that what enters is transformed and what no longer serves is burned away. It's as if its heat feeds the inner forge, allowing you to process life's experiences with more ease, more precision, and less residue of what would otherwise linger. But this digestive alchemy is not only about metabolism, it's about power, decision, and direction. The solar plexus is where willpower lives, where the energy to move forward is either ignited or suppressed. By fueling this center, the clove does something subtle but profound. It reminds the body that it is capable of transmuting heaviness into momentum, confusion into action. This is where the physical act of chewing 2 small buds begins to ripple into mindset and behavior, changing the way you meet challenges and engage with your own potential. And yet, the clove's influence does not stop in the physical layers. As its heat moves through the body, it begins to touch the more delicate field that surrounds you, the vibrational shield, often referred to as the aura. This protective layer is constantly interacting with the world, filtering, absorbing, and sometimes holding on to energies that are not your own. The clove's warmth in this unseen space is like a subtle wave of golden fire, expanding and strengthening the boundaries that define your energetic presence. It's not about blocking the world out, it's about refining the quality of what enters and exits, creating a space where your inner state remains, steady no matter what is happening around you. What makes this process remarkable is that it unfolds in silence, without spectacle, hidden behind the simple act of chewing a small dried bud. But in that silence, an intricate transformation is taking place, a shift that harmonizes body, mind, and spirit in a way few other natural elements can. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding how these 3 centers work together reveals an even greater truth. They are not separate systems, but interconnected gateways, and when one is awakened, it calls the others into balance. And in that balance, the potential for lasting transformation begins to take root. If the idea of activating these inner gateways resonates with you, write the word ignite in the comments. It's a reminder that even the smallest spark can awaken a whole fire within. When the clove's warmth begins to radiate beyond the confines of your body, it touches the delicate perimeter of your being, the aura. This is not an abstract idea for those who have felt it. It's a living field, constantly shifting in response to your state of mind, your emotions, and even the environments you pass through. The clove, with its penetrating yet gentle fire, moves into this field like a tide of golden light. It doesn't just surround you, it expands you. The sensation is not about building walls, but about strengthening the frequency at which you exist, so that what is heavy, stagnant, or misaligned with your well-being simply dissolves before it can take hold. In that moment, you are not shielding yourself from life, you are refining your presence within it. Over time, this influence deepens. The daily meeting between you and this small, potent bud begins to leave an imprint far beyond the physical. Each encounter is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your energy field, subtly rewriting patterns that may have been there for years, perhaps even lifetimes. It is a reconfiguration that does not happen in a single burst, but through the quiet accumulation of moments, a steady tuning of your internal instrument toward a higher vibration. And as your frequency rises, so does your perception. You may begin to notice shifts in the way you respond to challenges, in the people you feel drawn to, in the opportunities that seem to appear almost as if by design. This is why some call it a silent ceremony. Not because it must be hidden, but because it is personal. It happens without spectacle, without the need for witnesses. The world continues its noise while you engage in something deeply intimate, an exchange of intelligence between plant and human. You offer presence and intention. It offers transformation. The clove doesn't demand that you change overnight, but it will meet you every day in the exact place you are, guiding you 1 degree closer to the version of yourself you are becoming. In this way, the clove becomes more than a habit. It becomes a companion in your unfolding journey. It listens without judgment, responds without words, and works on layers you may not even be aware need tending. This is the hidden truth behind its enduring reputation across cultures. It is not just what it does, but the way it does it, quietly, consistently, without forcing, yet with an impact that cannot be ignored. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you recognize the clove not only as a physical agent but as an energetic ally, you start to see that the smallest rituals can be the most powerful tools for change. You begin to understand that what seems insignificant to the eye can carry the weight of transformation when approached with awareness. And once you've touched that understanding, it becomes almost impossible to return to seeing it as just a spice. If this vision of the clove as a quiet architect of your energy resonates with you, write the word golden in the comments, a reminder of the light that is always available to those who choose to tend it. The clove speaks in a voice that most will never hear, not because it is silent, but because it requires a different kind of listening, one that happens from within. Its presence is humble, almost understated, yet beneath that modest exterior lies a sharp precision, a focused intent that seems to bypass the noise of the external world and land directly in the quiet spaces of your inner awareness. It doesn't demand attention, it invites it. Those who have learned to listen with the inner ear know that the clove carries a rhythm, a pulse that resonates more with the language of the soul than with the language of the senses. Part of its mystery lies in the way it interacts with the body beyond what science can neatly quantify. While studies can analyze its chemical components and measure its antioxidant capacity, there is another layer, one that lives in the space between biology and perception. Ancient traditions have long suggested that the clove's vibrational quality has a direct influence on the pineal and pituitary glands, the subtle command centers often linked to intuition, vision, and spiritual insight. When these glands are harmonized, perception shifts. It's as if the fog thins, and what was once hidden in the periphery of awareness begins to step into clearer view. For those who practice meditation, this is not theoretical. It is experiential. Many report that incorporating the clove into their routine creates a distinct opening, a sense of alignment. That makes slipping into deeper states almost effortless. The body relaxes, but the mind remains sharply present. In this state, meditation ceases to be a struggle to silence thoughts and becomes a journey into layered states of consciousness, where the boundaries between waking awareness and the dream world start to blur. In these moments, some speak of entering lucid dreams with greater ease, or of visions that arrive not as random images but as symbolic narratives, carrying meaning that feels personal and yet universal. The clove seems to act as a kind of translator, helping the mind receive and organize impressions from deeper layers of self. It's not about creating illusions. It's about removing the static so the signal can be heard clearly. This is where the intersection of plant intelligence and human receptivity becomes most fascinating, not in the obvious, but in the subtle shifts that lead to profound realizations. And perhaps this is why its power has always been guarded, revered quietly rather than shouted from rooftops. The clove doesn't belong to the realm of spectacle. Its work is too intricate, too personal for mass display. It thrives in the unseen, in the behind-the-scenes alchemy that turns stillness into clarity, and clarity into transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we begin to understand the clove as a bridge not just between body and spirit, but between conscious and subconscious realms, we start to grasp why it has been treasured for centuries by those who sought to expand perception. This is not about escape, it's about awakening to more of what's already here, waiting just beyond the edges of ordinary sight. If the thought of unlocking that hidden vision resonates with you, write the word vision in the comments. It's a promise to yourself to start looking beyond the surface. The clove's work on the mind and spirit can feel like a subtle heat rising from within, but beneath that warmth, something far more precise is happening. It has a way of moving through the mental and emotional layers, finding the knots that have been tied by years of repetitive thoughts, old narratives, and unprocessed feelings. These are the invisible chains we often carry without realizing their weight. Beliefs that keep us in cycles, memories that loop endlessly, reactions that seem automatic. The clove doesn't rip them apart. It burns through them steadily, as if applying just enough heat to dissolve what no longer belongs without damaging the essence of who you are. In certain ancient traditions, this quality made it an essential ally in spiritual initiations. Such rites were not meant to be comfortable. They were designed to strip away illusions, to bring the initiate face to face with their deepest wound. It was believed that only by confronting that wound could a person be reborn into a truer version of themselves. The clove, with its fire and focus, was there to hold space for that moment, to lend courage when the mind resisted and the spirit trembled. It didn't shield the initiate from discomfort. Instead, it illuminated the path through it, so the journey could be completed with awareness rather than avoidance. This process isn't reserved for ceremonial spaces. In a quieter, more personal way, the same transformation can happen over time through consistent connection with the clove. Every interaction seems to leave a trace on the energetic field, a signature that gradually shifts in tone and resonance. Imagine your aura as a script written over years, each thought, action, and experience leaving its mark. Some of these lines are empowering, but others keep repeating scenes you no longer want to play. The clove's fire acts like an editor with a clear vision, erasing what's outdated and rewriting with a language that matches the frequency you are growing into. The change is rarely dramatic in the moment, but it is unmistakable in hindsight. You might notice that situations which once drained you no longer have the same pull, or that people drawn to your energy feel different, more aligned, more uplifting. Your interactions start to reflect the internal transformation, not because you force them to, but because the field around you now broadcasts a clearer, stronger message. This is one of the hidden truths about deep energetic work. The world responds not just to your actions, but to the vibration you carry into every space. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding how the clove participates in rewriting this vibrational script reveals something profound about transformation itself. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the most authentic expression of who you already are, stripped of the weight and distortion that time, pain, and conditioning have layered upon you. And when that authenticity begins to shine without obstruction, the impact on your life can feel nothing short of alchemical. If this idea of rewriting your own energetic story speaks to you, write the word renew in the comments, a small declaration that you are ready to carry a signature that truly belongs to you. In a world addicted to speed, noise, and the illusion that transformation must be grand to be real, the clove offers a lesson in the quiet power of simplicity. It doesn't demand elaborate preparation or complex tools. It doesn't need an audience. Its change begins in the smallest of acts so unassuming that the modern mind might overlook them entirely. Yet it is precisely this modesty that gives it its strength. In an age of excess, the clove reminds us that deep shifts often begin not with massive gestures, but with the steady repetition of something small, done with presence. This is why 2 cloves a day can feel like far more than a health habit. When approached consciously, it becomes like lighting a candle, not for a room, but for your own soul. A flame so small it can be snuffed out with a breath, yet powerful enough to chase away shadows that have lingered for years. That daily light builds upon itself, adding warmth where there was cold, clarity where there was haze, and direction where there was drift. It's a quiet accumulation of moments in which you choose connection over autopilot, intention over routine. The way you enter this practice matters. It begins in the way you hold the clove between your fingers, allowing yourself a pause before you begin. You notice its weight, or perhaps its lightness, against your skin. You breathe in its aroma, not rushing past it but letting it anchor you in the moment. In that pause, you are no longer just someone about to chew a spice, you become a participant in a dialogue with something alive. This is the part so many miss. The clove does not reveal its deeper nature until you meet it with awareness. By honoring its presence before it even touches your tongue, you awaken not only the plant's spirit, but your own. When you finally bring it to your mouth, it is no longer a casual action. It is a decision. The first bite releases its fire, a heat that sharpens your senses and reminds you of your own capacity to feel deeply. This is the hidden truth of such rituals. They are not about the object alone, but about what the object reflects back to you. The clove becomes a mirror, showing you the quality of your attention, the sincerity of your intention, and the space you are willing to make for transformation to occur. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you experience this shift, you begin to understand that ritual is not bound by complexity or tradition. It is defined by the presence you bring to it. And when presence becomes the foundation of your daily acts, even the smallest gestures begin to ripple outward, reshaping the way you move through the world. If this vision of turning something simple into a source of inner light resonates with you, write the word flame in the comments, a reminder that what is tended daily will continue to burn, no matter how small it seems at first. There's a reason dawn and dusk have always been revered as thresholds between worlds. At first light, the body is still gently loosening its ties to the dream realm, not yet fully anchored in the demands of the day. The mind is more open, the senses more receptive, and the energetic field more impressionable. Chewing a clove in this liminal moment is like setting the tone for the hours ahead, choosing clarity over chaos, presence over distraction. Its warmth mingles with the rising energy of the sun, weaving your intention into the day before it even begins. At dusk, the effect is different, but equally profound. This is the time when the noise of the outside world starts to settle, and the body begins its transition into rest. Yet, dusk also carries the weight of all that has unfolded since morning: interactions, decisions, challenges, and small moments that have left subtle imprints on your energy. The clove at this hour acts like a clearing fire, burning away the residue so you don't carry it into the night. It closes the day with a kind of energetic exhale, making space for deeper rest, more vivid dreams, and a calmer mind. But while timing can amplify the clove's impact, the real key is learning to listen to your body. This practice is not about rigid rules, it's about relationship. Pay attention to how your body and emotions respond. Some may feel a quickening of inner heat, a rush of alertness. Others might notice a gentle grounding, a softening of mental tension. These responses are your body's way of telling you how the clove's energy is weaving into your own. Over time, you might find that certain moods, seasons, or even life circumstances call for adjusting the way you work with it. There's a hidden truth here. When you engage with any natural ally, you're not just following a tradition, you're entering into a dialogue, and, like any conversation worth having, it requires listening as much as speaking. By honoring these subtle exchanges, you transform the act from a mere habit into an evolving journey, one that shifts as you do. For those who want to take this relationship further, pairing the clove with other practices can deepen its reach. Meditation allows you to drop more fully into the present moment, making the clove's effects more tangible. Breathwork moves its heat through the body, distributing that awakened energy into every cell. Spiritual reading, or reflection while the clove's oils release, can open the mind to insights that might otherwise slip past unnoticed. Each practice becomes more than itself when paired with the clove. It's as though the plant's intelligence enhances your ability to access the deeper layers of whatever you're doing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding how to integrate the clove into the natural rhythms of your day and the practices that already nourish you can turn a simple act into a source of profound transformation. When approached this way, it stops being an isolated ritual and becomes a living thread woven into the fabric of your daily existence, quietly shaping the energy, mindset, and decisions that define your journey. If this way of merging natural rhythm with intentional practice speaks to you, write the word alignment in the comments. It's a reminder that true change happens when your actions move in harmony with your own inner tides. The clove may hold fire within it, but that flame is only ever a spark. Its warmth, its vibration, its subtle intelligence, they are all catalysts, not the destination. The real transformation begins and ends with you. Too often we give our power away to tools, remedies, or rituals, forgetting that their purpose is not to replace our will, but to remind us of it. The clove cannot walk your path for you. It can only light the torch. You are the one who must decide where to carry it, how brightly to let it burn, and whether to protect it when winds inevitably rise. That is the hidden truth. Its strength is not in what it does to you, but in what it awakens in you. Every time you choose to work with it, you are choosing to meet yourself in a place of presence. You are making a decision, even if quietly, to remember that you are not here to move through life numb or disconnected. And this is where the practice becomes more than personal. It becomes a kind of pact, one that exists beyond language. Each clove you chew is a thread woven into a silent agreement between your soul and the earth itself. It's an acknowledgement that you are part of a living web, a participant in an ancient exchange where you receive not only flavor or health benefits, but the essence of a being that has traveled through soil, sun, wind, and water to meet you in this exact moment. This pact is not transactional, it's relational. You give attention, reverence, and openness. In return, the earth offers you a fragment of its own, vitality, distilled into this small, concentrated form. Over time, that exchange begins to shape your way of being. You may find yourself more aware of the choices you make, not just in what you consume, but in the words you speak, the energy you give to others, and the spaces you allow yourself to inhabit. It is as if each interaction with the clove reinforces the truth that you are capable of living with more clarity, more intention, and more vibrancy. The beauty of this understanding is that it can extend far beyond the clove itself. Once you recognize the sacred nature of this kind of pact, you begin to see how it can apply to anything you touch, taste, or invite into your life. You realize that every action, no matter how small, can either align you more deeply with the life you want to live or pull you further from it. And in that realization lies an immense power, the power to shape not just your habits, but your entire energetic signature. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because seeing the clove through the lens of a sacred agreement opens the door to a much larger conversation about how we engage with the living world. It's about reclaiming the awareness that every choice is part of a greater dialogue and that the earth is always speaking to us, if we are willing to listen. If this idea of living as part of a conscious pact with the earth resonates with you, write the word pact in the comments, a simple mark of recognition that you are ready to walk. That agreement with awareness. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, it tells me you value moments like this, where we slow down, go deeper, and uncover the layers most people never stop to notice. That's exactly the kind of space we create here. So if you want to keep exploring ideas and practices that truly make a difference, subscribing will make sure you're here for the next conversation we share. And if you're one of the few who made it right to the end, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end," so I'll know we took this journey together. You can also tap the like button. It's a simple way to keep this circle of connection alive. There's a video right here that complements this topic beautifully. Click and continue with me over there.